Well, hey folks, today I want to talk about how I was able to get 14 hole-in-ones with this Ace-a-thon disc. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. No, I haven't even got one with it yet. Dang it. But today we're going to talk about one of my favorite shots is the turnover shot. And it's one of the most beautiful shots, but it's also one of the most touchy shots. And so we're going to talk about some ways that you can work on that so that it can be a strong suit in your game instead of a, oh crap, I have to throw this. And let's talk about it right after the intro. Okay, if you've been around the sport long enough, you've heard interviews in different people, different pros doing practice rounds, talk about how much they love to see that turnover shot that just goes out and glides and then settles by the basket. And it is truly beautiful to see a disc thrown well like that on that turnover shot that just, there's something extra special about it. The problem is, it's a very touchy shot. And that's why you also hear the commentators go, boy, that's one of the toughest shots in disc golf. Well, as soon as you hear that, your antenna should go up, whew, maybe I should practice that one because it's not gonna come naturally to me to throw that shot. But there are times when you need to have it in your bag. You need to make that shot. So today we're going to talk a little bit about it, pick it apart a little bit, and just try to work on it to get a little bit better. Remember, our goal is to get a little bit better day by day, both as a disc golf player and as a human. And so let's go out in the field and let's do a little work on it, okay? Okay, so I'm out here at George Ward on hole number 5, which is a wide open field. And I didn't realize they'd moved the baskets because I was planning to have the basket right there as my, my target. But I've stuck my little disc grabber in a towel to help see it a little bit more. But we're basically going for that wooden base right there. I mean, we don't really need the target. You can do this in any field or whatever. But so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab my neutral torpedoes. They're pretty much straight flyers. And I'm gonna just run through a set of just getting used to throwing, all right? Well, great news. I filmed a good segment and actually had some great throws showing some examples. Didn't film any of it. So we're going to do this again. Let's see how it goes this time. Ah, the joys of filming. All right, so to get warmed up, of course, now I am warmed up and there's a heat warning for today, but hey, we're going to plug on. So what I'm going to do first, they're basically 6-shot backhand shots if we don't include rollers. You've got the spike backhand. You've got the medium, just hyzer, the straight shot, the turnover, and then the big turnover. And then finally, you've got kind of an S-curve, nose up, floaty shot in there, approach shot. And we want to work on those as much as we can so that each one of them feels natural to us. Now, they moved the basket from here, so I've just got my, my grabber with the towel on it to help. But we're basically going for that wooden base there that is 200 feet away. So first I'm going to start with just the spike hyzer. I'm just using, right now I'm just using straight neutral discs that pretty much fly with a little bit of fade at the end, but they're pretty point and shoot. So now I'm just going to do a spike hyzer up in the air. And you can see, yeah, it's grabbing a little float on that and pushing a little bit left. Not the greatest, but it's okay. All right, now I'm going to do a little less hyzer on this one. Just a nice simple out and over. I think there must be a little breeze helping carry those over. Let's see if I can adjust that with the straight. What's so sad is the first round, I nailed them, just like that. All right, now we're just gonna go straight at it. Right over the top of the flag. All right, now we're gonna do a turnover, but kind of a slight turnover. Just a little turn and drag. Yep. And then finally we're gonna do, not finally, and then we're gonna do the big kind of spike turnover. Got to get around and up and around. So we go up. Oh, caught the limbs. I was gonna float back to it. Let me do that one again. Notice my body, I'm having to get upright and I'm really having to drag over. So we go up and then just let it cruise on back. Hit the base. And then the last one, I really think the turnover and then this one are the touchiest ones and the ones that we're going to focus on in just a minute. But this is, I'm putting a little bit of turn, but I'm throwing it nose up, so it goes out, does a little bit of an S turn, and then drops back to the left. So it's like we have to get around 1 tree, 2 trees, and then have it drop by the basket. So it goes up. Almost, man, I need a little more nose up on that one. I pushed a little bit past it, but you see what it was trying to do. And this is why we need to practice these. All right, let's try it again. It's so close, but I need that instead of fading out here, I want it to be fading out there. The answer to give your disc more stability or overstability, throw it higher so that then it's got to drop farther back to the left. Let's get this one up, nose up a little bit higher. Up, up, up. Now start fighting back, fighting back, fighting back. There we go. Right back to, and there you go. And that's why you need to get out in the field and practice, because it is literally the difference of this and this, or this versus this. Almost the exact same angle, but that nose angle makes such a difference in whether it fades out to the right or actually comes back. But the good news is, once you do some field work like this, you start to get an idea of how you can shape your shots, regardless of whether you've got a neutral disc, an understable disc, or an overstable disc. And we're gonna talk about it. Let me go grab those. Okay, so what makes the turnover shot so touchy? Well, what you're having to figure out, well, on a regular hyzer, it's just one angle. You're throwing it out and letting it crash. Where turnover, you're really thinking 2 angles, because you're throwing it out on this kind of angle, but the nose angle will determine how the disc finishes. Whereas this way, it's naturally finishing with the way it wants to finish. It's just diving. So it's a matter of, does it dive early, does it dive late? Oh, it dove early. Well, I need to throw it out farther this way. The problem with the backhand is you need to throw it out and you need to get it on the right line for it to travel where you need it to go, but you also need to make sure that that nose angle is on the right angle so that it doesn't burn out, turn into a cut roller, or fade out and just flop out and hit the woods. And most of us tend to, when we need to make that shot, we may get the turn, the angle, this angle right, but we tend to throw up in the air like that. We tend to get nose up. And so what happens? That thing goes out and just crashes and burns. So this is where I'd say, if you've got a set of discs or your regular disc, your whole bag, you could use it, but that's why I love practice set. You check out where I've talked about remix discs and others, but I've got a set of 10 of these. Actually, I think I left one down there, so I got 9 right now. But so this is where you start practicing and honing in, figuring out the nose angle that you need to throw. And we're just gonna throw this out, and what we want it to do is we want it to be turning and just slowly settling down so that when it gets to the basket, it's landing flat by the basket. And the only way to get good at this is to do it a lot, okay? So let's see how we do. See, that one's gonna fade out to the left. I got nose up and it faded out. I was not committed to the shot there. I was thinking about other things. I was thinking about the next line I was gonna say to y'all instead of concentrating on the throw. And they're a little slick right now. All right, so let's try this again. I need to make sure to get the angle and the nose angle. So it should be, when I throw it, I'm thinking here, and I'm thinking pop through and pull through. I'm dragging through. I'm not dragging out. I'm dragging through. I'm actually kind of trying to follow through, pointing at the basket. That's a little low, and you can see even my body. I hopped. I was not secure in my body. Let's try that again. That's what practice, field work is all about. It's ugly most of the time until it finally isn't. All right. Better, my body was stable. I got it on edge, and it just floats right to the basket. I was more centered. I was more focused. It was a much better throw. I would say 90% of my misses when I'm doing a turnover is I get the nose up and it goes off to the side. So I need to be working on making sure to follow through, commit through, and drive through. That one's gonna be okay. I didn't get it on. The other side is that one, because I got the nose angle right, but I didn't get the line quite right, it picked up and rode. I'm now 100 feet past the basket. So you can get great distance, but with great distance comes great responsibility. You got to make sure you get it to finish up at the basket and not go blowing by the basket. I think this is one of the best practices you could do, because this is going to give you confidence out in the field. Not out in the field, but out on the course. Better. Now look, it just catches that ride and just glides right to the base. It's funny, as soon as you release it, you know, yes or no. And that's how it should be. That's why you always want to practice with a target, not just practicing, can I make this shot, but how close can I get to the target, because that's going to tell you yes or no. It's going to feed into that brain loop that's going to be building up, yes, do this more. There you go. And now it just rides right behind the pole, stick, PVC. And see, that's how you get around stuff and then just right to the basket. It's such a handy, beautiful throw. But man, it's just like practicing shooting a gun, archery, or whatever. If you don't keep working at it, it's a diminishing skill. You could see when I started out, I just had to get back into the groove of it. Get into the groove. Even that one's not great, but it's going to be okay. I could tell, you could see by the ground reaction that it came in a little hot. I needed just a little, instead of this, I needed that. All right, one more. All right, hit the base. All right, let me go get those. Now here's the fun thing about being colorblind. I looked for this joker for about 5 minutes, couldn't find it. It was 25 feet from the basket, but it's orange, and it was just lying in the grass. Couldn't find it. Yay, genetics. All right. Now, the other tricky shot is similar to this, to the backhand turnover, but it's more the flex shot. And yes, flex shot with a neutral disc. It's doable. But what you have to do, whereas before I was really worried about making sure to get that nose down, pointing at the basket so that it would ride and point at the basket, now I'm going to emphasize getting the nose up. Because what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to throw it out, let it turn, but that nose up is going to carry it up, rise it up, and the higher you get, the more it's got to fall off, and then it's going to fall back this way. It's also going to act like, kind of like a parachute. It's only going to go so far and then drop. And that's such an important, touchy, old school, how do you get close to the basket? And so this one takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of reps out here because it's not your most natural throw. Usually when I miss on this one, it's I don't get the nose up high enough for it to drop back and I pull over to the right a little. But let's see how we do this time. Well, I got it high enough, but I pulled it way too right. But you see how it's trying to fight back? That's what we call in the business a shank. And this is why you've got to come out here. Listen, these are not natural shots. We don't throw a million of these. We may throw one around, if that. And so, but when you need to throw it, you need to rely on that muscle memory because you put in time in the field, not just throw and hope. Yeah, sometimes that works out, but most of the time, how's that work out for you? If you haven't practiced it, if you aren't confident with it, your odds of successfully pulling it off are getting lower. This is where we're trying to raise the odds, raise the success level by putting in the work. All right. So notice I'm getting higher up and I still dragging it over to the right. It's trying, but I'm still pulling a little bit over this way. I'm a little influenced from throwing those turnovers here, so I've got to straighten out a little bit. So when you use this for, once again, you might have a little tree or something here and you want to get over a pond and then just drop right to the basket. And you can't just throw a hyzer or a turnover or a spike. You've got to go down the middle. You've got to do a little flex. But you might not want the super. This one, hopefully you're getting pretty straight with just a little turn and then a nice drop at the end. I've been putting too much turn on it. I need to just, right here, Go turn, up. It's trying. I needed more height on that one. That was the line, just needed more nose up. Is that making sense? It's a hard shot. That's why the commentators go, oh, he just did one of the hardest shots in disc golf. Because it's literally taking every consideration, every aspect into consideration. I've got to get the angle, the speed, the nose up. I've got to come in here. Plus, it's doing what it wants to do, but not as naturally as if I just threw out a hyzer and let it drop. I'm taking the hyzer into it at the end, but I'm fighting it at the beginning. It's a complex algorithm that, you know, only the super, never mind, that was gonna be a dumb joke. Edit, self-edit. All right, here we go. Up in the air, that's gonna be better. It's still gonna drag a little bit. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes, and drop. Yeah, it's so satisfying when you get it. Because did you see, went up, and it was rising because I had nose up and then plopped. It stinks when you do it on accident, but it's great when you do it on purpose. All right, 2 or it's luck. Dang you, Simon. All right, let's see if I can do it again. Oh, I didn't turn enough. I got the height, but I T-Rex'd armed it out here. All right, must have been luck. Let's do it again. Guys, I do a lot of these drills to show y'all because I need the practice too. Okay, it's gonna fade off to the left. One of the things I'd made sure to snap through, but you see, I just didn't get enough turn, but you saw it faded out at the end. Nose up, check. Right line, not so check. I just gotta imagine there's a tree right here I gotta get by and then over the pond. Pass the tree, up, and then fade back over, right at the pole. I just had to visualize the tree in the pond. Let's see if I can do it again. I am definitely a visual guy. I need to have the right vision in my head for what I'm trying to do. All right, I got a tree in a pond. Tree in a pond. Oh, that still was wet and it just poop. It's just from the moisture on the ground. I mean, look at that. That's just from one throw. I know. Excuses. Yeah. Just throw a good shot, Pete. That's all we're here for. Just throw a good shot. Hopefully you're not just for that. You're here because I'm so handsome and good looking and wise and humble and all that good stuff. All right. If I was so wise, I would have brought my my birdie bag with me because that would help on a sticky morning like this. All right, so got a tree, got to get around and then over the pond. There we go, around the tree, up, and fade right at the basket. There you go. So guys, like I said, you only get good at these by getting out in the field and practicing. And I hope that's going to encourage you. And if you want to stick around for just a second, I'm going to talk about 2 more discs right after this break. Yeah, there's no break. I'm just going to jump right to it, but I didn't know where I was going with that, so here we go. So now the thing is, we can do the same practice with 3 different types of discs. I've been working with the Torpedo, which is my point and shoot, pretty straight, a little fade, but now I've got the Creature, which is like the uplink. It's like a -2, -3 flip. And this is all right-handed backhand. Sorry for you lefties. And then the Gladius, which is like a Pyro. It's gonna be like a fade of a 2.5, maybe even a 3. We'll see about this one. But you can do the same thing with each of these. As a matter of fact, you should practice what I just went through with each one of these because they're gonna give you a different flight and they're gonna need different nose angles, but they're gonna do different things. I'm gonna throw these just to show you how they fly, and then we'll bring in the other 2 and show you how to practice with those. All right. Show you this. I'm just going to throw straight at the basket with each one of these. Nice and straight. I started out a little left, but it just stayed there. All right. Now the Creature. It's going to be flippy. There it goes off to the right. I got a little nose up, so it's fighting back a little bit, but you can see it's wanting to fight this way. All right, now the Gladius, I'm going to throw straight at it. And there it goes, off to the left. So you can see, Once again, I love these for practice, but also for demonstrating. We've got a straight, we've got a fade, a left, a turn, and then we've got a fade. And so I was doing all the practice with the neutral because that's, let's face it, if you only have one disc, you want a neutral disc because you can shape a lot of the shots with that neutral disc just by changing those and stuff. But it's good to know how to throw the other ones. And now I've talked about this before. You can go check out my shot shaping video. I can throw spike hyzers with this. I can throw every one of these shots with this. And the nice thing about the flippy is I can throw the flip hyzer, which I can't do with the other two, where I throw it out and let it pop up and ride. But what we're talking about here now is the turnover. And this is actually going to be an easier shot because it's supposed to do this. So I don't have to work it as much. I don't have to twist my body and pull around, get on plane like this to get it around. I'm just going to put it out here and let it drag across. And that's why most of the time when you need to make this shot, you're probably going to pull out your flippy disc. And see, it's just going to naturally just want to carry over. The danger, what happens oftentimes, this is our miss with this, is that we're going to do something like this. And we get it over on edge, and then we get a cut roll because we haven't given it, we need to give it the height, and we need to give it the time to come on around. And if we yank through it, we're burning it over and not giving it a chance to settle, and it's just going to crash into the ground and turn into a cut roll. So that's the danger of that. That's why you have to practice and just find that right nose angle. Nope, too low. Pete, you're such a good teacher demonstrating what not to do. I know, it's a gift. All right. Out and then let it just ride. There you go. See, I was influenced a lot by throwing the neutral where I was putting it out here. I didn't have to put that much. I just needed to put it out here, but I had to give it the space and the time for it to start dragging across. Now the gladius. The thing about the gladius, if I had to throw the creature or the flippy disc here and let it drag, and the neutral here and let it drag, what do I need to do with this? I need to throw it here and let it drag. And I'm going to need more space because it's really going to have time to come back and fight back and settle out. The other option is, if you have less space, is to do what I was doing earlier and have it more of a flex shot where you're keeping it tight, you're throwing it here, and you're throwing a little nose up so it goes around whatever you need to and crashes back. That's ideal for the overstable. That's why you see it the most. But you can still use it for the turnover shot. As a matter of fact, sometimes you want to make that turn, but then you want to push and ride past the basket. To be honest, if I get this right, it's probably going to sail back towards that tree because it's going to catch that extra. It comes around. Here, let me do it like this. It comes around, it's settling, and then it catches that boost as it makes that transition and keeps pushing forward. And so that's oftentimes when you need to get around something, you need that turnover shot, but then you need it to push farther. That's when you grab something more stable. Let's see if I can show that. Got that way on edge, and see, dropping right at it. I got that at almost the perfect. It was actually, I cut it a little too much. If I'd been, instead of here, if I'd been here, it would have smoothed out and landed perfectly smooth right at the base of the pole. But I had just a touch too much turn on it. All right, let's try not quite that much turn. Oh, I got nose up on that, so that one's gonna really fade out to the left. Yep, but you notice it still went past the basket. That same shot, if I'd thrown with the others, would have faded at the basket. This one was, because it got up and rode. They'll understand what's going on. If you don't, write me, ask me, and check out some of my other videos. It was going out and it was making that transition, but because it was nose up, it stayed up here and then just crashed out that way. But while it was making that transition, it's going past the basket. All right, let's get this one, Pete. Nope, it's gonna fade out again. Usually when you've got a really fairly overstable disc and you're trying to do that, like you've got to flex around stuff, most of the time, once again, our miss is nose up. And so it's gonna crash left too. Rarely am I gonna be blowing too far to the right. It's always gonna be fading out to the left. So I need to compensate for that. And there you go, that was better. But you see, it's going over the top of it and it's heading out that way. That's some reason why I like the neutral disc, and I play more with the neutral disc because I can shape them rather than them fighting me. This is great, but I've got to find that perfect slot to get it to come around. There we go, there we go, there we go. And right over the top of the basket, but yeah, it's at the tree. You see that? I threw the same amount of power as before, and you need to know that because sometimes you need that extra push, but you also need to be aware if you're gonna get that extra push, you need to take something off. So now I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna try to get it to land by the basket. So I've gotta basically put my aiming point closer to take into consideration the float. There we go. And then just off to the left, but I still went past the basket. You can't understand this until you get out on the field, really, until you feel it and you realize, I just threw the exact same shot and it showed up completely different. I thought that felt different. Yeah, that was a creature. Had a couple creatures sneak in. All right, let's try this one more time. I'm trying to get this, ideally, I want this laying right in front of the basket, but it's gonna take extra touch for that. Woo, close. But once again, I still missed to the left. I want to miss slightly to the right. That's gonna be close. No, but still gonna fade out to the left. But you see, I'm dialing it in. I'm figuring it out. You throw multiples of it and you start to figure it out. Well, I'm consistent right by it. But did you notice how much I was having to take my body and really torque it over? The more stability, you have to fight the turn and you have to move your body to get that angle that you need, especially early on. It's almost like I'm trying to throw a roller with that guy, even though it's gonna fight out. Okay, there you go, guys. I'm about to spontaneously combust, so I hope that helps. Please leave some comments, questions, and I'll be happy to do some more on this. But once again, I wanna re-emphasize, you can't get better at these unless you're just a natural freak that just, you see it and you can do it. There are a few people out there like that, but most of us need to do field work, need to get out there and do reps. It's the only way you're gonna get incrementally better. And so I hope this helps. And I really do appreciate you coming along with me. Make sure to like, subscribe. I think I should by the time this comes out. I'm past 3,500, woohoo! I'd love to see that keep going. If you could help me out, that would be great by liking and subscribing. Check out my Patreon channel. We're just gonna keep on plugging along, help you out here, and I hope to see you out on the course.